Good evening. In this guide, I'll be going over one of the most confusing things in the entire game. How to imbue your weapons and armor with effects such as mana regeneration, hit points, and many more. So, as you go throughout the game, you're going to find lots and lots of reagents. They can be found from pulling plants out of the ground, but most often you will find reagents for imbuing from killing mobs. The Shadow Essence, for example, you can find a lot of them from killing goblins, or necrotic bones from killing undead. Each of these reagents will give something along the lines of this. When you look at their power aspects, they're all different. Some give negate times 2, air times 3, energy times 1. Bitter Leaf, for example, gives mind times 2, negate times 1, and energy times 1. So when you put your piece of armor into the imbuing table, keeping in mind that I'm doing it on a housing plot, only friends have access to this. If you do this in a city, which is public, anyone could just walk up and yoink your armor out, and boom, you just lost your armor. So you only want to do high-level imbuing, or really any imbuing, at a private or friend-only access imbuing table. When you first put in your gear, you're going to see all these different properties that you have the ability to imbue it with. So for example, if I wanted to give it acid resistance, I would need body, negate, water, and chaos. One way you can experiment with these recipes is just by throwing something in. You see, okay, so I can use this reagent to work towards acid resistance. It would be good for detection, because this one reagent gives me 2 of them already at tier 1. So you kind of have to experiment a bit with it. Or, if you're in a very clever guild, such as the Iron Bank, that has channels that show enchanting recipes that they found, for things like mana regeneration, or intelligence, or strength bonuses, that can also be a valuable resource. For this, I'm going to quickly show you how to do a mana regeneration enchant. So if we look down at our mana regeneration, we need mind. We need a reagent that gives us mind, and we have Bitter Leaf for that. So it gives 2 mind and 1 energy from Bitter Leaf. Then if we put in our Storm Essence, it gives us our last point of energy. Now see, necrotic bones only gave us 1 transfer in 1 time, but something we can do is pull it back out and split it, and then use it for 2 slots, and then if you scroll back up to the top, you'll see that you now have the ability to give it mana regeneration. So you can split these stacks and use the same reagents twice. Now, something you need to keep in mind, if let's say you put in something else. Now you have 2 properties highlighted. If there's 2, that means there's a 50% chance I will get the mana regeneration, and there's a 50% chance I will get detection. It's never good to gamble like this, because you won't get what you're looking for. If there is more than 1 highlighted, it means you might not get the imbuement that you're actually looking for. So we pull that out, then we hit enchant, uses 1 of each reagent, except for the one we use 2 stacks of, that would require 2. Now if we look at our helmet, it now has an imbued property of mana regeneration times 1. I use mana regeneration for one of the 2 imbuements I can place on all of my gear, because mana is a huge problem in this game. You can imbue many different things. Part of being able to solo massive groups of mobs in this game is being well prepared. So personally, what I'm going to be doing, I have 4 armor sets. So I'm going to put my mana regeneration imbuement on them, and then I'm going to make 1 armor set with fire resistance, 1 with ice resistance, 1 with shock resistance, and then I'm probably going to make another with poison resistance. And doing this will make it so if I am properly prepared and I look up on the wiki what type of mobs are in the area I'm going to farm, then I can farm them more efficiently and probably won't take very much damage. Now you see, something like this can take 2 imbuements. Now, there is a difference between the imbuements that can go on weapons and on armor. If I was to put in a greatsword, you're not seeing things like resistances and whatnot. There are things such as proficiencies, and if I look at my build, I see that a lot of my abilities use the warfare school. So, what I'm going to do is give my weapon the imbuement of warfare. Something to keep in mind. You see the 2 green bars and the blue bars? In order for it to be a tier 1 enchantment, it can go from here to here. It has to be at least 2 green bars in terms of values in the properties. So this is giving me 2 create. So that's why create is at 2 bars. If it goes up to 4 bars and it's blue, that does not make it a tier 2 enchantment. For it to be a tier 2 enchantment, it has to be at least red, meaning it has to go all the way to here. Alright, so let's get our warfare proficiency on our greatsword. And there it is. So now, if I was to equip this greatsword, and then go into my ranks, you will see I now have 1 point in warfare. Something to keep in mind about warfare proficiency, though. I already had 1 rank in warfare. Whichever one is higher will be overridden. So if I used 2 orbs of warfare, and then I put this on, you wouldn't see this little piece of clothing indicating that my clothing is overriding it. They do not stack, it takes whichever one is higher. So if you're level 5 warfare, putting warfare enchantments on your weapon won't really do a lot for you. Well, that pretty much covers everything that I wanted to cover in terms of imbuing. If you have any questions, feel free to ask in the comment sections down below. Imbuing can be very confusing.